All right, good afternoon. I have a couple things to share with you guys. I welcome Mr. Dean here is with us, and welcome him with a big, we're going to do a, we are... Now, I've written a couple things down in regards to what we're feeling right now. There's a lot of feelings going on in our hearts. I looked at it in the aspect of as a principal, as a former teacher, as an advocate for children. I kind of look at it at that perspective via Mrs. Dean. And we feel a loss of a wonderful teacher here. We have that feeling of loss. She was like a surgeon. How many of you guys, when you go to the doctor, would like to have just a general person work on you? No, you want to have a surgeon. You want to have an expert. And this expert was Mrs. Dean. She knew how to analyze, to check, to pinpoint the areas that the children need as a teacher. She was surgical in the way that she developed her plans for her children. We are also Riverview, Norco, may I suggest the USA, and may I suggest the world, that we have lost. We have lost someone very special. We are sad today because of that, but we are also celebrating 24 fabulous years. 24 years to touch lives. Within that time, I would venture to say that she saw children grow up, get married, have babies. I would say in that time she touched more than just the children in her class. I have a poem that I pulled off the web, and it kind of, you know, knowing Miss Dean and knowing how precise she, precise she was with how she academically had every child achieve in her classroom. She knew. So this is a poem called I Am a Teacher. Some of it has some upper grade stuff in it, but that's okay. Each and every day I lecture, I instruct, I coach, I explain, I demonstrate, I illustrate, clarify, and prove. I show and sometimes tell. I inform, I train, I initiate, I plan, diagram, map, chart, graph, and design. I question, quiz, probe, examine, and confirm. I care, I worry, I console, I inspire. I pay attention to and show concern for. I nurture, I nurse broken hearts, fix boo-boos, ease worries, and mend friendships. I am a teacher. This is what I do. That is Mrs. Dean.
Thank you, Mr. Marsh. Mrs. Thibodeau, Mr. Dean, if we could have you come on over here for a moment, please. This is a book that was put together by Mrs. Dean's first grade class this year that they would like you to have. So, I want to make sure that we give that to you. Okay? And if Mrs. Dean's students, if our room 23 could actually start our walk for us. And we'll give them a round of applause. And many of you know that Mrs. Dean loved to walk every day. I was sharing with some teachers, you know, I'm here in room 28, and I'd look out my room, even before we had the 100-mile club, and you would see Janice and Patty and Laura Castellanos many a days, Mrs. Dean, Mrs. Castellanos, and Mrs. Baker walking years before we even had the 100-mile club here. And she would like this. And just remember the rest of us as we're walking today, we are walking and we're not running, and if you can kind of watch what's in front of you, because there's a lot of us out here to celebrate Mrs. Dean's life today. You can see all of that by the purple that so many of you are wearing. And then Mr. McGuire, as they make that way around the backstop, if you would start the 6th graders. And once everyone gets walking, we have some music from the Dixie Chicks, who was one of her favorite groups that Mrs. Taylor Anderson and a few other teachers were able to put together for us that we're going to have play after we get everybody walking. And as you're walking today, if you had Mrs. Dean, think about all the wonderful memories that she's left with you that you'll never forget. No one ever forgets a teacher that they've had. And for us teachers, you never forget colleagues that you work with, either. And Janice was unforgettable. And that's a good thing.
That is a good thing.
5th grade, if you would follow.
6th grade.
And I know Mrs. Dean will be really proud of all this silence and how well we're all listening and just right now. It just says a lot. Then Mrs. Walton and Mr. Bohr, after our 5th graders go, you can go ahead and start our 4th graders. We're actually videotaping this today, and then we're going to actually have it put on YouTube. So you'll be able to go on YouTube and see this and stuff. And we're going to let the family know that as well, so that they can view this if they weren't able to be here today. Her sons and other relatives. And then for our guests who are here, some of the other things that we're doing to honor Mrs. Dean is we're renaming our multi-purpose room the Dean Den in the fall in honor of Mrs. Dean. And we'll have a banner up that says the Dean Den and it's in honor of Mrs. Dean. And we're also getting a tree that donated from the nursery with a plaque the teachers are going to take care of. And then we're also having book plates made that has her picture on it. It says this book is dedicated to Janice Dean. And there'll be all the new books as we purchase for our school library in the future. They'll have her picture in it. So, and she would like that. By my watch, we're 3 minutes into the walk, so we still have 21 minutes, so we'll get everybody walking. And our guests that are here, if you feel like you want to do a lap, you're more than welcome to, or you're more than welcome just to sit and enjoy the music and enjoy the time and the memories. And then our 2nd grade's walking. You keep going, yes. And then our preschool class is actually going to walk out in the middle of the field in their own kind of area. So. Okay, looks like we've got everybody just about walking, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to start the music, and then we still have 20 minutes, so walk for Mrs. Dean. Let's